What is up, everybody? Today we're doing a 4-round Superflex rookie mock draft, and I have another special guest today. I am joined by Alfredo Brown at the Pretend GM on Twitter and content creator for Football Guys over on their YouTube channel. So make sure you check out all of Alfredo's fantastic rookie and dynasty content over on Football Guys' YouTube. Today we're going to be drafting from the 1.03 spot and putting ourselves into Alfredo's mind to understand his process and analysis on some rookies to see how he would attack a rookie draft from the 1.03. So without further ado, let's get right into the mock. All right, Alfredo, we are on the clock at the 1.03, and surprise, surprise, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. are the first two picks gone. I feel like that's going to happen in 99.9% of Superflex leagues out there. The order might change, but we are here at the 103 with both Caleb and Marvin Harrison gone. So you have your choice of any of the other quarterbacks of Jane Daniels, Drake Maye. If you want to go back to the wide receiver position with Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers is there too. This is not tight end premium, but Bowers is there as well. So who would you be looking to take here at the 1.03 if this was your situation?
Oh man, we got to go JJ McCarthy. I'm just kidding. No, we're not going to go JJ McCarthy here at the 103. Even before we started recording, I told you I'm kind of waffling at this pick, and I have been for a little bit. The more and more I've jumped into this, I have come up with more and more concerns for the guy that I would have said is the easy 103 right here. Like, no problem. Jaden Daniels would have been the pick for me. Like, absolutely no problem. You see how much upside you have with, last year when Anthony Richardson was healthy and running around and playing, he was quarterback 3 in points per game. Like, we obviously already know there's the cheat code for the rushing quarterback. The thing that just keeps popping up for me, whether it's analytically or on film with Jaden Daniels, is he still has a lot more growing to do. I don't mean physically. Yeah, he probably should gain some weight, but I mean just like through the game and kind of doing the nuanced things that you want quarterbacks to do, being able to throw a bit more over the middle and in the intermediate game, being able to check down and just like take things safe sometimes and not be Wile E. Coyote on every single play. I get it. For fantasy, for dynasty, there's some big upside there. His pressure to sack ratio is the thing that really just like caught me off guard, because I was like, but he's super fast. He should be getting away from, and he's not. You kind of already know if a team is going to blitz him, he's either going to eat that and take the sack, or he's just kind of putting that ball up. And that's something that became a little bit more concerning for me. And I think you can find a few similar things here with Drake Maye. I think that Drake Maye has an equal or maybe even better ceiling to Jaden Daniels, which I know might be crazy to some people. I think we do this thing where we get bored with prospects. And a year ago, we were talking about Drake Maye could be the next Josh Allen. And now this year, all of a sudden, we're like, oh, Drake Maye, he's okay. He's okay. Like, we forget that Drake Maye can run too. We forget that Drake Maye had seasons with over 600 rushing yards. He had seasons with like 9 rushing touchdowns. Like, this stuff also happens for Drake Maye too. And I think that he's a little bit more of a complete quarterback. So if I have to bet on who I think is going to still be a starting quarterback, let's say 5, 6, 7 years down the line, and be the guy to be the cornerstone of my dynasty team, I'm going to go with Drake Maye here.
The one question I have for you, like, is the NFL draft going to determine this ultimately for you? Like, depending on landing spots, if Maye's in Washington, Daniels is in New England, and then Neighbors ends up going to the Chargers. I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now. But if Daniels goes to Washington and Maye is in New England, does that change anything for you?
I'm so glad you brought this up. I just tweeted about this, just like totally irresponsible. Just put this out there because there are no repercussions for me on Twitter because everyone's mad anyways. All these rumors about the Commanders maybe taking JJ McCarthy, it seems wild, but like it could happen. Crazier things have happened in the NFL draft. And all the talk that the Minnesota Vikings are the ones that just absolutely love Drake Maye. And that's why they're doing all this trading and all this maneuvering is to go up and get Drake Maye, because they have Josh McCown on their staff. And Josh McCown coached Drake Maye in high school. And so landing spot, yes, will matter a ton. If I'm leaning towards this narrative and the rumors and all the smokescreen stuff right now that Drake Maye could be on the Vikings, that's an incredible spot for him. And I honestly, I do think that he clearly becomes the quarterback too, if that's where he lands. I still think that Jaden Daniels can be incredibly successful on the Washington Commanders in that Cliff Kingsbury offense, that air raid offense. It fits him pretty well, and having those good weapons around him. But yeah, I think those landing spots would probably be better than maybe putting any of these guys on maybe like the Broncos or the Patriots or something like that. If we get a quarterback that lands on one of those spots, I'm probably not as interested in them.
All right, we're up again at the 2.03 spot. A whole bunch of wide receivers have basically gone in between our last pick at the 103. So we're kind of in this mix right now at the 2.03 where the best players available are a lot of these running backs. You got Jonathon Brooks, you've got Jalen Wright, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen is also there as well too. Adonai Mitchell's there at the wide receiver position. If you wanted to stick with wide receiver, Roman Wilson, Xavier Leggett, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix at the quarterback position, or Jatavian Sanders as the tight end too. These are all options for you here at the 2.03, Alfredo. But where would you be looking at if this was your spot?
So the one name that does seem very tantalizing to me, depending on the landing spot there, would be Adonai Mitchell. If he ends up on one of these competing teams he's a guy that doesn't really have the complete prospect profile just yet. Like analytics do not like him. Film watchers really like him. I think there's a lot of things that still need to kind of just fit into place for Adonai Mitchell. And I think he's very, very worthy of the 203 here. But I want to go with the guy who is my running back one, and that's Jonathon Brooks out of Texas. I think that had he not had this knee injury, we'd be talking about him clearly as the running back one in this class. Despite all the Trey Benson hype and some of these other running backs out there, he would clearly be the guy. I love him on film. He just runs with such a smooth patience, yet still has the explosion for these long runs. He's used in the passing game. He's used by the goal line still for Texas. And I mean, we kind of, as much as we start to look at all the Texas wide receivers, we see how much they were held back by Quinn Ewers and how much that offense as a whole was kind of held back by the quarterback position. But if you, once again, let's hop back down that narrative street and the rumors and all the things going around. Jonathon Brooks, the doctor that performed the surgery on him, is the Dallas Cowboys team doctor. It would not shock me at all if we're looking at, I think the Cowboys have like pick 54. If they're sitting there, they have not spent money in free agency. They have not gone out and gotten a top running back that can be the legit starter. Would not be surprised if Jerry's sitting there saying, man, I love this boy. He's from Texas. We already know his knee is good. We got ourselves a crazy value. And he just sits there at pick 54 and he loves Jonathon Brooks and grabs him. I think that shoots Jonathon Brooks potentially to like the 109 or 110 in rookie drafts, because people are saying that's the rookie running back one. And I think that's probably what we'll see is whoever ends up being that running back that ends up on the Chargers or the Cowboys or one of these really great spots could hop all the way up into that 109, 110 spot.
He's definitely been, I think, the biggest riser in my personal rankings, but then also I think just in the overall draft circles, not only because, I mean, he had a fantastic season in 2023. And, if it wasn't for Bijan Robinson, we probably would have seen more of the same throughout his career at Texas. But yeah, what he put on film this past season, it is phenomenal. And I really, really love Braylon Allen, but the things that Jonathon Brooks does, especially from a fantasy perspective, are just so much more beneficial and conducive to fantasy points. He's way more of a receiver. He's way more of a complete full running back. I mean, he's got the prototypical size as well too, at 6 foot, 215 pounds. I mean, that's right where Bijan Robinson was. That's where Breece Hall was, like Rashad White, a bunch of these other like very good to elite NFL running backs. That is where Jonathon Brooks is athletically. I'm fully in on taking him as the RB1 or RB2 in this class, in this early second round, or potentially even the late first round if he lands with one of those spots like, the Cowboys or the Chargers or anything like that. So we are up again at the 3.03. Just a litany of players have gone after your pick of Jonathon Brooks at the 2.03. Both Bo Nix and Michael Penix went. A bunch of wide receivers have gone. And then three other running backs in Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, and Marshawn Lloyd. So we are sitting at the 3.03. Braylon Allen is still there, Alfredo. Jonathan or Jatavian Sanders is there as well too. A bunch of other running backs and wide receivers there, like Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Polk, Devontae Walker, Audric Estime, Ray Davis are all there. Will Shipley, Spencer Rattler is there at the quarterback position as well too. So we're kind of in dart throw territory here at the third round. So who would you like to identify here at your pick here at 303?
I want to talk about the first guy though that you mentioned though there, Braylon Allen, who I get it. I get the hype. He had a really good freshman year. I can already see your soul leaving your body, Addison. He did not give me what I wanted to see on film. He was a big guy that almost did not know he was a big guy. It's the elephant that's afraid of the mouse. And like that's kind of how he ran. I get it. He had the great production profile early in his career, but even numbers guys, so you can go and look at the yards per contact, yards after contact per attempt. It didn't go up. It wasn't one of the better ones in the class. And for a guy that's running around at, let's say, even if we just undershoot the weight at 230, 225 pounds, whatever, I want you to be the guy that is breaking through tackles and making those big plays. Not to say he doesn't do it, but it's, to me, Braylon Allen is not the clear cut, top 3 running back that some people want to make him, or to me, even a guy that like I want to take right here at 303. I wouldn't fault anyone for doing it. I think that's fine value for him, especially if he lands in the right team. Landing spot could be crazy for him. Once again, we talk about those teams that are great for a running back right now that can give them volume. You end up on a Chargers, you end up on a Cowboys. Heck, you even end up on like a Raiders that wants to establish the run, like cool, like, a guy that can carve out a role and potentially become the starter. Awesome. I have my eyes on a player here that I think might get drafted in the second round of the NFL draft. And I'm looking at Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver out of Florida. And to me, he does nearly everything that Ladd McConkey does, almost as well. Actually, kind of on the same plane. But what I like about Pearsall is that he's a little more aggressive. He's a little bit stronger. He can do the deep ball tracking a little bit better than Ladd McConkey. And I think he's going to have that ability to play outside, inside, wherever. There's always and I hate to do this to your channel or my channel or anyone's, but there's always who's the next Puka Nacua? You're looking for guys with good play strength that can be moved around the offense. And that's what Ricky Pearsall has done. I kind of love the fact that he's had to do this on various offenses with 3 different quarterbacks. Like going from Arizona State to Florida, working with so many different quarterbacks. It's been really interesting to see a player that can actually still be that successful. I like that he's got 5 rushing touchdowns over his career. Receivers who could do more get on the field earlier. You look at a guy like Jaden Reed, and I think he's very similar to him in his play style. I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky Pearsall is gone in most drafts by this time, and I would not be surprised if he's the guy that gets taken late second round to a competitive NFL team that just wants to fit him on the field early and expand their passing attack a bit more.
I'm actually on board with this pick at the 303, like in the third round. That's where I'm on board with Ricky Pearsall, because to me, like, there are 3 Ladd McConkeys basically in this class, I think. And it's McConkey himself, Roman Wilson, who was picked basically almost a round after McConkey. And then now we get Ricky Pearsall. I think those 3 players are all Ladd McConkeys. And so I'm on board with taking whoever ends up being the cheapest, because I do think that there could be an opportunity or a role in the right situation with the right draft capital for one of those 3 to do well for fantasy. Now, I don't like all 3 of them because I lean more on the analytics side, and their analytics are just not fantastic, especially Pearsall didn't do much really at Arizona State, and then finally transferred over to Florida. And I don't know if it's just Florida wide receivers or just Florida in general, but it's just, I don't know, that they just can't seem to utilize their talent, or that they just can't bring in good enough talent, and that we overweight their talent come draft day. I really, really like the Jaden Reed comp. I think that that's a pretty solid one in terms of potential utilization at the NFL level that would translate for fantasy football. So I don't mind this pick at the 3.03. I'm usually team running back. I would have most certainly have taken Braylon Allen, but I don't mind the Pearsall pick here. All right, Alfredo, final pick here at the 4.03. Major dart throw territory here. You have a bunch of guys that you can pick from, like Ray Davis or Will Shipley. Spencer Rattler is still there, the quarterback position. Bunch of other running backs. You got a bunch of tight ends. Jacob Cowling, Johnny Wilson, Jermaine Burton, or Brendan Rice are kind of what you're looking at the wide receiver position. But 4.03, if you got a guy right here, let's take him and let's talk about him.
Oh man. Okay. Commenters, ageists, I'm sorry. You're going to be upset with this, because I have the biggest draft crush on Ray Davis, the running back out of Kentucky. And I'm not going to apologize for it. Like, I get it. He's maybe a couple years away from getting Social Security. Like, he's eating early dinners at Denny's. He gets the senior citizen discount at the movie theater. I understand all of your concerns about his age. for Dynasty. I want to give some more context to his age and why him being 24 years old is not this scarlet letter that we've made it out to be in the past. Normally that indicates, going into the draft later means you were not productive until later. The thing for him is different. And just to give, he has a fascinating story. Addison, I'm not sure if you know it, but it's definitely going to be one of those that ESPN and NFL Network are going to be pumping hard the second he gets picked. He was in foster care at the age of 8, then in homeless shelters as a teenager. And that made things very difficult throughout high school, where he ended up being 1 credit short of being NCAA eligible as a high school senior, where he was already a great high school football player. So he had to go to a post-grad boarding school that put him kind of a year behind everyone. Then, as a true freshman at Temple, he gets over 1,000 total yards and 8 touchdowns. So we're already seeing the dude can play at the next level. He gets 4 games into his sophomore year at Temple, and he does not like what the team is doing. He does not like the direction it's going, and that's when we're starting to see there's lots of changes in how things are happening in college football. He enters the transfer portal, cuts his season short, goes to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, he gets a starting job. He starts out the season great, gets injured in his 3rd game, and can't finish the rest of the season. Comes back next season as a senior, runs for 1,000 yards, catches 29 passes, totals 8 touchdowns. Guess what? He's going to transfer again. And the thing with the transfer is it would bother me if he was going to somewhere where he's trying to get more playing time. No, he is upping the competition every time. Now he goes to Kentucky. He blows up for over 1,100 rushing yards, 33 receptions, 21 touchdowns. My comp for him is Jaylen Warren after a big lunch. And that's actually that's the comp that he gave for himself. He models his game after Jaylen Warren. He is kind of a bit of a bowling ball, but he doesn't have the long speed that people desire. He is fast enough to give you the big play. He is shifty enough to make people miss. I'm in love with Ray Davis. And for the people that are saying, well, he's not going to be a long-term answer, running back's not a long-term answer in Dynasty, man. It's just not how it goes. You're probably not getting a second contract from him. But if you can get 2 to 3 years of a solid running back that can hop it, a lot like Zamir White did this past year. If you can get that guy in the 4th round of your rookie draft, that's the dart throw thing. That's the guy that can help you win a Dynasty championship. All those people that have been sitting on Zamir White that all of a sudden helped them last year, that's it. This is the kind of guy that you're going after that can hop immediately into the NFL and be productive.
I mean, the Kentucky season this past year, he had 21 total touchdowns, 14 rushing, 7 receiving. He is amazing. And I understand the Jaylen Warren comps, and I know that he gave that to himself, but I see kind of like a James Robinson kind of thing where he can enter a team that has either maybe not an immediate need, but a team that he can quickly ascend the depth chart because he is better than everybody else on that team. And I mean, even if he burns bright for just 2 years or something like that and gives you maybe top 15, top 20 production over the course of those 2 years, hopefully it doesn't end because of an Achilles injury. But that is kind of what I see for Ray Davis. And in the 3rd round of your rookie drafts and the 4th round of your rookie drafts, I don't care about age as much because I think Ray Davis is just that good of an NFL player.
I'll say this, Addison, and I love when the analytics matches the film. There has been a guy that I've loved in various draft classes that has made me say, that's my target in the 4th round or the 3rd round, whenever it is, at the running back position. A few years ago, it was Khalil Herbert. Whenever it was, I think a couple years ago, it was Ty Chandler. This year for me, it's Ray Davis. That's the guy that I'm crushing on late in these drafts. It might not happen in the rookie year. It might turn into some sort of a timeshare, but these are guys that can be valuable and can win you championships in Dynasty. And in the 4th round, listen, not everyone's a Puka Nacua, man. You're not going to get an NFL Hall of Fame caliber player in the 4th round every single year in your rookie drafts. But Ray Davis, I think that he can contribute immediately. And I think he can be one of those guys that just wins you your championships.